Welcome to Heart of the Matter, the programme which is committed to telling you the truth about who must do what and why if the Palestine problem, the cancer at the heart of international affairs, is to be cured before it consumes us all. My guest this week is Ghada Karmi, a leading Palestinian academic and writer who was born in Jerusalem and brought up here in England, where she still lives. Today she describes herself as becoming more and more angry at the self-deception of most Israelis who justify the appalling actions of their governments by pretending that what is happening is not happening. In the light of the facts on the ground in Israel-Palestine, including the ongoing illegal Jewish settlement, and the continuing support of the major powers for Israel right or wrong, and the continuing impotence of the regimes of the existing Arab order, is it difficult for a diaspora Palestinian to go on believing that the wrong done to the Palestinians can be righted?
Well, of course, and not just for a diaspora Palestinian, for any Palestinian. It's very depressing, and it would be very foolish of me if I tried to make out that despite this gloom, there is a light at the end of the tunnel or something. It is very serious. The situation is extremely bad, and frankly, I have to tell you, I think that we are going through a second Nakba. I actually thought that the 1948 catastrophe, when we lost our homes, when we were expelled and Israel was created, which of course we call the Nakba, was bad enough, and I didn't think we'd ever get something like that again, but this is how it feels.
Well, Ilan Pappy, whom you know and I know, and we're both friends of, I mean, his view is that it's a continuing Nakba, a continuing slow, gradual ethnic cleansing. I mean, is that what you're saying too?
Well, yeah, that's a very reasonable view. I think I'm saying something more, which is that the current situation is so bad. It's never been so bad. And it's suddenly become much worse.
Well, not only do I think that's true, but it seems to me that Israel's political and military leaders still believe that by means of brute force and subjecting the Palestinians to abject poverty and restriction and everything else, they still think that they can break the Palestinian will to continue the struggle for their rights. Do you think it's possible, Ghada, even remotely possible, that Zionism will be proved right, that the Palestinian will can be broken?
I don't think so. And I'm not saying this because I'm misreading the situation or I want to actually put a good gloss on it or something like that. Not really. I think it's too late for the Zionists, in a way. They might have just got away with this after 1967. In fact, if they had been wiser, in 1967, they could have relinquished the rest of Palestine, which they occupied. They could have said to the Palestinians, look, do whatever you want to do with this. We will be friends. And Zionism would have become respectable in the Arab world. I mean, a terrible thought to me, but nevertheless, there was a chance. They had a second chance in 1993 with the Oslo Agreement. What an agreement they were being offered. You'd think they would have jumped at it. Here they were, with the people they dispossessed, their victims, with the victims saying to them, look, okay, we've lost, but you can have 78% of our homeland. Just give us 22%. We will make peace, and the rest of the Arab world would have followed suit.
And that was the miracle of Arafat's leadership. He was the one who prepared the ground for that historic compromise.
Well, he did.
Ghada, as I understand it, your position is that a viable two-state solution, one that would see Israel withdrawn to its pre-67 borders in exchange for peace, is already dead, if not yet formally buried, killed by Israel's still ongoing colonization of the West Bank. Now, if you're right about that, and I think you are, there would appear to be only two options: one state for all, or catastrophe for all. So let's now take a look at the one state of your imagination, what would it look like and how would it work?
Well, first of all, we've got to remember we have one state already. Israel is in occupation of the whole of historic Palestine. There are no divisions between Israelis and Palestinians except through the artificially constructed ghettos that the Israelis have built. There are no borders between them, so we already have one state. The problem, of course, is that the state we have is an apartheid state. It's a state with a lot of oppression, discrimination and racism. And that is not the state that I'm thinking about or one that I would look for. The state that I would want to work for and that I aspire to live in would be a secular democracy on very much the Western liberal lines, which are very familiar from people who know Europe, where you would have a government which represents all its citizens equally, where the citizens have equal rights irrespective of their ethnic origin, their gender, their color, their religion, and so on.
Complete equal rights under every possible heading.
Totally equal in every single way, equal citizens. Now, that sort of state would solve so many of the problems that we have now. Because if you look at the way that the negotiations have gone, from the beginning of the Oslo Agreement, they've talked about final status issues, I think they used to call them. Today, after Annapolis, they talked about various things they weren't going to discuss now. They're always the same thing. They're the borders, the settlements, Jerusalem, the refugees.
It's the illusion of a peace process without the reality.
Exactly. And of course, the things that they keep postponing are the things that are the heart of the whole issue. That's why there's a conflict. Now, you're not going to be able to resolve these by an arrangement of partition. You may solve some, you certainly won't solve all. You've got settlements, you've got the resources which have to be shared, and you have, above all, the right of return and Jerusalem. Now, how are you going to do that in the two states? In a secular democracy of the type that I'm talking about, or in a one state, let's say, all these things are shared. Settlements can stay by agreement. Why not? It's all in the same land. All the resources are shared. Jerusalem is shared. And the refugees can come back to their homeland, finally.
Let us be absolutely clear about something. Zionism's assertion that a one-state solution would mean the end, if not the annihilation, of the Jews now in Israel-Palestine is complete propaganda nonsense. A one-state solution would mean the de-Zionization of Palestine. It would mean the end of Zionism's colonial enterprise. But if I hear you correctly, you're saying that those Jews currently there, Israelis who chose to stay, would enjoy security and peace of a kind they've only dreamed about.
Absolutely.
Would that not be the case?
Absolutely, you've said it all. Look, when one talks about the one state, people start jumping up and down. The Zionists start saying, yes, you're going to throw all the Jews into the sea. We know what you Arabs are like. That's what it's really all about. And of course, it's a lie, and it is confusing for the listener, and it throws dust in people's eyes. What we're talking about is the end of something that's true, but it's the end